Our group project looks at the University of Warwick Health Centre. It serves all university students and staff living on campus or in and around the catchment area. Although centrally located in Warwick campus, it is a separate entity from the university and in fact is affiliated with the NHS, National Health Service. Due to its affiliation with the NHS, all students get free access to primary medical care. It provides a wide range of services such as, but not limited to, counselling, vaccinations, treatment, among others. The objective of this report is to put theory into practice by analysing the operations of the health centre, by interviewing staff and survey registered students for in-depth understanding of the 4 V's, process layout and process types, as well as gaining insights, critiquing and offering recommendations for maximising the efficiency and the productivity of the National Health Service Centre here at Warwick campus. Now let's start with the so-called 4 V's. First of all, volume. The volume of operations within the health centre, with only 34,528 patients registered in 2014, is relatively low compared to those performed by public and private hospitals. Hence, repetition is relatively low, as doctors and nurses are not specialised like they would be in a hospital, and each of them perform more and more tasks. For example, the health centre's website provides a list of 21 operations done by a nurse practitioner only. However, given the small size of the health centre and also the fact that most patients are of the same age and hence face similar issues, one doctor might see the same case in many different patients. Furthermore, low repetition does not apply to those who work at the reception, as they perform the same task for all patients. The next V is variety. In terms of service diversification, the health centre provides a high variety of services, from counselling to specified services like meningitis vaccinations and so on. Although within the sector of the health services institution, the health centre's operations range is relatively limited. For example, according to our survey, patients were unhappy about the fact that there is no internal blood testing facilities. The next is variation in demand. Variation in demand is pretty high, given that almost half the year is vacation season, and most patients are out of campus, while when it is term time, demand increases drastically. Demand varies as flu and cold season kick in, and people start feeling ill. Despite these fluctuations, demand both during term time and vacation time is quite constant. On the positive side, demand is easy to anticipate, as term times are known in advance and capacity can be adjusted accordingly. Of the last V's is visibility. Visibility is relatively high due to the existence of waiting rooms, which allow other patients to see and judge what is happening whilst waiting, meaning that there is small waiting tolerance. The satisfaction of the customer is derived from the doctor's performance, and if the performance is deemed appropriate and professional, customer satisfaction will be enhanced. The customer experience is indeed critical, as it will determine whether the patient will remain within Warwick Health Centre or choose to go to another practice. The polar diagram. We can consider all the operations that are happening in the health centre and apply them to a polar diagram. 5 performance objectives are taken into account: cost, dependability, flexibility, quality, and speed. In the case of the health centre, there are certain priorities in terms of these aspects. The most important performance objective is quality, doing things right. After all, the customer is a patient, and his satisfaction is mainly driven by the outcome of the service. Internally, quality operations should both reduce costs and increase dependability. With regards to costs are effectively low, since the insurance covers the majority of the costs along with the government and its subsidies. However, there are budget restrictions on the centre, which must therefore be cost efficient. Hand in hand with our high quality service comes a greater flexibility. The health centre provides a range of services, highly customizable. Flexibility in terms of majority of its aspects, such as service flexibility, volume flexibility, as described earlier, is relatively high. The fact that quality operations increases dependability and its flexibility is, however, arguable. In real life, dependability and speed are the major trade-off. Based on the survey, lots of people are dissatisfied with the time efficiency, despite the centre's efforts to reduce it. Delivery on time differs from patient to patient, and depends highly on the volume of services provided throughout the year. Now let's move on and identify the process type of the operations in health centre. With regards to the service process matrix, and based on what we said, having a relatively low volume and a relatively high variety of services, we can identify the process is operating under the natural line of best fit, where there is more rigidity than is actually required to be efficient. And so we can suppose that the health centre is somewhere in between a service shop and a professional service. Through our analysis, we concluded that the health centre is a cell layout. The patients are being separated into 2 cells in the very beginning, where they are registering with the health centre. They are labelled as either blue or pink. The first step of the process is to book an appointment with a receptionist, who makes appointments for the patients depending on whether the patients are pink or blue. Thus, patients meet the appropriate doctor or nurse depending on the category they belong to. Afterwards, patients are able to take different routes within the cells, according to the issues they are facing. If the illness is trivial, the patient meets the nurse, and if he is facing a more serious problem, he meets the doctor. Now let's take a look at the pink cell. On the day of the appointment, the patient has to arrive punctually and check in at an automatic machine. After checking in, the patient has to wait for a certain period until the doctor or nurse finishes with the previous patient. The patient's name and room number then appears on the screen, and he has to go to the appointed room to meet the doctor or nurse. This reflects functional layout within the cells. All the patients take different paths through the fixed transforming resources: check-in machine, calling screen, appointed doctor and nurse. Similarly, the same functional layout occurs within the blue cell. Now let's take a quick look at the problems we found and the solutions we recommend. Resources are not fully utilised. For instance, a blue patient who wants to get a vaccination might need to wait another day to get an appointment with a blue nurse, even though a pink nurse might be available at the time. What's the solution? Stop dividing patients to blue and pink in the times of peak of demand, example flu season, and allow them to book appointments in the closest slot possible. No matter if the doctor is blue or pink, it would increase productivity, improve the speed and dependability without a loss of quality, and enhance the customer satisfaction. As health centres technically separated into 2 cells, blue and pink, both direct resources and indirect resources are duplicated. They are fully equipped offices with sufficient heating and lighting for doctors and nurses respectively. This is a huge waste of resources during the times of lower demand, and is not even really efficient when the demand is high. The solution is at least a few lean principles might be implemented to increase efficiency. For example, equipment and resources which are needed relatively rarely can be separated from everyday used ones and placed in a neutral place where both pink and blue doctors and nurses could access it when the need occurs. This way, the health centre could only own 1 set of rarely used resources and save money and space. One problem is that processes are short and fat, which means that, for example, a nurse is qualified to do the vaccination, has to fill in patients' information into the online system, ask about allergies, and do other routine tasks which do not require medical qualifications. Solution: processes could be improved and made longer and thinner. For example, a patient's information could be filled in by the receptionist in advance, and the basic paperwork can be handed to a nurse or a doctor to reduce the appointment time used for paperwork, which could be used to provide the patient with the best healthcare possible. It would increase both customer satisfaction significantly and enhance the flexibility of the processes. Due to the problems listed above, customer satisfaction evidently should be low, and our survey results confirm this statement. The average efficiency rating from our survey is only 5.8 out of 10. Patients complain about difficulty to contact the health centre by phone, lack of personalised services. Moreover, although the wide range of skills held by the staff ensure the majority of illnesses are accounted for, patients also claim that the quality differs from doctor to doctor and nurse to nurse. Implementation of our recommendations would allow the health centre to improve its position in the service process matrix, which, although not too bad, leans towards the left of the natural line of best fit, towards excess rigidity. Slight changes would allow the health centre to operate more cost efficiently. What is more, elimination of these minor operational issues would help to solve the greatest problem of the health centre: customer dissatisfaction, by reducing time gap between making and attending the appointment, making processes a little bit more flexible and personal, and also giving doctors more time to treat patients without distractions. We surveyed 40 students and staff from the University of Warwick, and these are a summary of the results. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed the video and hope to see you soon.